Lebih dari 140 guru besar dan 400 dosen peneliti yang berpengalaman mengajar dan meneliti di berbagai bidang ilmu pengetahuan, teknologi, sosial, budaya, dan humaniora, Universitas Brawijaya siap mengembangkan proses pendidikan yang bermutu dan berstandar internasional untuk menghasilkan lulusan berdaya saing global. Untuk menunjang kompetensi dan keterampilan mahasiswa, Universitas Brawijaya menyediakan berbagai laboratorium dengan peralatan yang berteknologi canggih dan modern, termasuk laboratorium lapangan, sehingga budaya penelitian yang kuat terus berkembang ditandai dengan penemuan inovatif yang bermanfaat bagi masyarakat luas. Karya ilmiah yang bermutu dan inovasi diciptakan Sivitas Akademika sebagai wahana pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengabdian kepada masyarakat. Sebagai perwujudan komitmen sebagai world-class entrepreneurial university, berbagai sarana dan prasarana serta beragam wahana bagi berbagai aktivitas mahasiswa disediakan untuk menjamin terciptanya peserta didik yang unggul dan berprestasi. Banyak lulusan Universitas Brawijaya yang saat ini menempati posisi penting dan berkontribusi nyata di Indonesia maupun di tingkat internasional.
Dari pengajarnya dulu zaman saya kuliah banyak praktisinya, jadi saya ngerasa benar-benar kepake banget, bukan cuma belajar teori tapi prakteknya kita dapat.
Dari pengalaman kuliah yang paling berkesan ya karena saya anak organisasi, jadi ya di kepanitiaan, terus saya di sana belajar tentang kepemimpinan.
Dulu yang depan saya itu Fakultas Peternakan, sekarang udah berapa lantai udah ya, malah ada liftnya, dulu nggak ada.
Dengan semangat kami, Universitas Brawijaya akan menunjukkan kepada dunia pendidikan yang berintegritas dan humanis serta berada pada barisan terdepan dalam pengembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi. Dengan bangga hati dan penuh percaya diri, lulusan Universitas Brawijaya siap menyongsong masa depan building up global future.
Postgraduate Brawijaya University, located in the city of Malang, East Java. We are ready to cover various study programs. Environmental and Development Research Management Program, Doctor Program in Environmental Science, and National Defense Insight. The Lemon Studies Master Program. Study with the various interesting facilities. And the best quality. Postgraduate Brawijaya University, bridging the future.
Universitas Brawijaya adalah kampus tujuan paling favorit di Indonesia. Para mahasiswa datang dari berbagai daerah di Indonesia serta dari luar negeri. Universitas Brawijaya semula merupakan yayasan perguruan tinggi bernama Yayasan Perguruan Tinggi Malang pada tahun 1958. Terletak di pusat kota Malang yang terkenal dengan hawa yang segar dan udara yang sejuk, Universitas Brawijaya telah menciptakan lingkungan kampus yang asri. Dengan tata ruang yang terpelihara dengan baik dan didukung oleh tenaga pengajar yang berkualitas, baik dari dalam maupun luar negeri, menjadikan Universitas Brawijaya sebagai kampus yang nyaman dan kondusif untuk proses belajar dan mengajar, serta untuk mengembangkan bakat dan minat. Universitas Brawijaya membuka akses belajar yang seluas-luasnya bagi calon mahasiswa berbakat, termasuk mahasiswa disabilitas. Saat ini, ribuan lebih mahasiswa mendapatkan beasiswa dari berbagai instansi, baik pemerintah maupun swasta. Universitas Brawijaya memiliki 14 fakultas, Pascasarjana, dan program vokasi. Dengan didukung lebih dari 140 guru besar dan 400 dosen peneliti yang berpengalaman mengajar dan meneliti di berbagai bidang ilmu pengetahuan, teknologi, sosial, budaya, dan humaniora, Universitas Brawijaya siap mengembangkan proses pendidikan yang bermutu dan berstandar internasional untuk menghasilkan lulusan berdaya saing global. Untuk menunjang kompetensi dan keterampilan mahasiswa, Universitas Brawijaya menyediakan berbagai laboratorium dengan peralatan yang berteknologi canggih dan modern, termasuk laboratorium lapangan, sehingga budaya penelitian yang kuat terus berkembang ditandai dengan penemuan inovatif yang bermanfaat bagi masyarakat luas. Karya ilmiah yang bermutu dan inovasi diciptakan Sivitas Akademika sebagai wahana pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengabdian kepada masyarakat. Sebagai perwujudan komitmen sebagai World Class Entrepreneurial University, berbagai sarana dan prasarana serta beragam wahana bagi berbagai aktivitas mahasiswa disediakan untuk menjamin terciptanya peserta didik yang unggul dan berprestasi. Banyak lulusan Universitas Brawijaya yang saat ini menempati posisi penting dan berkontribusi nyata di Indonesia maupun di tingkat internasional.
Dari pengajarnya dulu zaman saya kuliah banyak praktisinya, jadi saya ngerasa benar-benar kepake banget, bukan cuma belajar teori tapi prakteknya kita dapat.
Dari pengalaman kuliah yang paling berkesan ya karena saya anak organisasi, jadi ya di kepanitiaan, terus saya di sana belajar tentang kepemimpinan.
Dulu yang depan saya itu
Izin kami mulai ya, Bapak Ibu. Mas Amin sudah siap ya?
Sudah siap, Mbak. Nih.
Ya. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Yang kami hormati Ketua Program Magister Pengelolaan Sumber Daya Lingkungan, Dr. Insinyur Kartika Ningsih MSI. Yang kami hormati Ketua Program Dokter Profesor Dr. Gatot Ciptadi. Yang kami hormati Bapak Ibu KPS, pengelola Pascasarjana, serta Bapak Ibu dosen pengajar di lingkungan Pascasarjana Universitas Brawijaya. Kami sampaikan juga selamat bergabung kembali kepada narasumber kita pagi ini, Profesor Insinyur Dr. HASFALINA Ceman, serta Bapak Ibu mahasiswa partisipan kegiatan in1 tahun 2021. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Pertama-tama marilah kita panjatkan puji syukur kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala yang telah melimpahkan rahmat serta taufik dan hidayahnya kepada kita semua untuk kembali berkumpul dalam ruang virtual ini guna mengikuti rangkaian kegiatan 3-in-1 2021 di sesi kedua hari ini pada hari Kamis 7 Oktober 2021. Bapak Ibu yang kami hormati, demi kelancaran acara pada hari ini, kami silakan untuk sejenak menundukkan kepala dan berdoa sesuai dengan kepercayaan masing-masing. Berdoa dipersilahkan. Berdoa dapat diakhiri. Selanjutnya, untuk dokumentasi kegiatan, kami mohon izin waktu sejenak untuk pengambilan foto bersama yang akan dibantu oleh teman-teman tim teknis. Untuk itu, Bapak, Ibu, dan seluruh partisipan dimohon untuk mengaktifkan videonya sejenak. Untuk slide yang pertama, 1, 2, 3. Slide yang kedua, 1, 2, 3. Baik, terima kasih Bapak Ibu. Memasuki acara inti, yaitu pemaparan materi oleh Profesor Insinyur Dr. HASFALINA. Pagi ini beliau akan didampingi oleh Mas Abdul Aziz Amin, SPT MSc sebagai moderator. Sebelum memulai acara, kami bacakan terlebih dahulu secara singkat CV dari Mas Abdul Aziz Amin. Saya share, ya. Bapak Abdul Aziz Amin ini, beliau saat ini bertempat tinggal di Singasari Residence, Singosari, Malang. Kemudian beliau menempuh S1 di Universitas Brawijaya dan menempuh S2 di Ritsumeikan University 2018. Baik, demikian CV secara singkat. Selanjutnya, tanpa berlama-lama lagi, waktu dan kesempatan selanjutnya kami serahkan kepada moderator. Kami silakan Mas Abdul Aziz Amin.
Baik, terima kasih Mbak Nia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, thank you very much for the attending the second meeting in the 3-in-1 program which held by Magister Program Environmental and Development and also Doctoral Program in Environmental Study. Before it, thank you very much for mastering of ceremony in the 3-in-1 program. In this morning, we are already in the second meeting, which the visiting professor from University Putra Malaysia, Prof. HASFALINA Chairman. Assalamualaikum, Professor.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you very much for attending a second meeting. Okay. Well, in the first of all, I will take honorable for the head of the Magister Program of the Environmental and Development, and also head of program, doctoral program in the Environmental Study. Okay, in this morning, we have the second meeting, which in the topic of the material for environmental sustainability. As the last meeting, we have the 45-minute with the Prof. HASFALINA will deliver of the material topic, and then around 20 minutes after, we have the discussion and the question. So, Bapak Ibu, bagi yang ingin bertanya, juga bisa memberikan pertanyaan lewat kolom chat atau bisa langsung menghidupkan mikrofon atau menggunakan fitur raise hand. Jadi Bapak Ibu bisa menggunakan pertanyaan lewat bahasa Indonesia ataupun bahasa Inggris. Saya akan mencoba mentranslatekan jika nanti memang perlu ditranslatekan. So I will translate from Indonesia to English, Prof. HASFALINA, if there is some question with the Indonesian language. Okay, at that time, maybe Prof. HASFALINA, we have the 45 minutes for the, you deliver the material of this morning. Okay, times to you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so very much. Our moderator today, Mr. Abdul Aziz Amin, and also our MC, Madam Nia Noviana. Very good morning to all of our honorable guests as well, and ladies and gentlemen. First of all, again, I would like to thank the organizer for having me for this program, guest lecture 3-in-1. And as been explained earlier, today is actually the second topic for our actually 4-week session. So this is actually the second topic. So allow me to share the screen. And I've been actually been reminded by our moderator to make sure 45 minutes. Okay, so I try my level best. Right. Okay, so Ms. Tami, can you see this PowerPoint?
Yes, clearly appear.
All right, okay. So welcome, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to our participants today. So maybe some of you first time joining this program, or maybe this is the second time. So again, I just would like to show this is actually our 50 years, which is actually the golden jubilee this year. That means we are now at the 50 years old. Yeah, UPM now at the 50 years old, and this is the Department of Engineering faculty, my faculty, and we also have Hospital Pengajar, University Putra Malaysia, or teaching hospital for medicine faculty, right? So for today's topic, it's about the materials for the sustainable environment. And as mentioned earlier, I'm from Department of Biological and Agriculture Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, and I'm also the Deputy Director of Putra International Center, known also as iPutra. So for today's, actually, I'm going to explain a bit about the sustainability because the title is about the sustainable environment. So we need to understand what is the meaning of the sustainability, the definition, the problems, and also the solution, and the sustainability elements such as Sustainable Development Goals or SDG. Is also being explained, and also in terms of the economic and sustainable use of resources, an example of the materials or systems for sustainable environment, the carbon footprint reduction, and from our own experience, UPM experience, we also have one of the research institute named in1. So we will share some of our experience for the sustainable environment, yeah, the materials selections and also the materials involved for the sustainable environment. So basically we need to know first about the environment, what is mean with the environment. So according to the dictionary, it is a complex of physical, chemical, and biotic factors, which is including the climate, the soil, and also the living things that act upon an organisms or an ecological community and ultimately determine its form and survival. So it has to be actually biotic factors living together, and we have to keep informed and survive in that kind of community, ecological community. Yeah. So this is actually where we have to actually make sure that we able to have what we call biotic factors living together, because some of these social and also cultural conditions may influence the life of an individual or community. So we actually need to live together in one environment, yeah? And the meaning of the sustainable development is actually meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And this is actually a very general definition about the sustainability. That means whatever that we actually enjoy today, we should actually make sure that the next generation also able to join the same experiences that what we have now actually. So, or better than that actually, because we would like to make sure that we're not going to produce waste to our next generation to have it for their own next generation to proceed. Yeah. So we want to actually preserve the environment, the nature for the next generation. And this is actually the sustainability it's look like. Yeah. So sustainability is about the ability of our own human society to continue indefinitely within these natural cycles. So what happened in the natural environment, we can see here the sunlight where to actually produce the energy, form of energy for photosynthesis for these plants, and actually use the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and produce oxygen. And we utilize oxygen, yeah, animals, yeah, utilize oxygen for breathing, yeah, for other respiration activities. And this is actually the closed system. Nothing disappears, everything disperses. So it's actually within this closed system. This is the biosphere. And then in the lithosphere, okay, is also have what we call natural ecosystem, geological cycles through sedimentation, mineralization, produce through the what we call the soil, enrich the soil with the minerals, yeah, through these slow geological cycles, such as by volcano eruptions, and also through the process of weathering. So this is actually the normal, the natural cycles, yeah, within our natural or healthy system. Okay, but then how we influence the system, yeah. So we as the human being actually people, okay, we have our basic needs, yeah, with the individuals within organizations, yeah. We have so many things that we want, yeah. And we actually physically inhibit nature's ability to run the cycles, yeah, because we have to actually what we call deforestation. So we actually reduce the numbers of plants, yeah, to run the normal or nature cycles. Yeah. So we actually also introduce other physical activities, yeah, mining. Yeah. So we actually make most of the activities influence the natural cycle. And as a human being, we also introduce these persistent compounds foreign to nature, okay? And this is actually being deposited in the lithosphere, in the earth crust. relatively large flows of materials from the earth crust being actually extracted for our basic needs. Yeah? For example, the minerals, we also need the gold, yeah? We need all sort of these metals as well for our consumption. So basically, we actually influence this natural ecosystem through our activity. And actually, if you can see, the earth is like a terrarium. Yeah, so it's a very closed system. Yeah, it's actually live in harmony like this. Yeah, the sun pays the bills. There is no away actually. So everything is actually in the confined area. And sustainability means maintaining the balance. So actually, we need to maintain the ecosystem in its balance cycle. Yeah, so this is what we are trying or need to do actually. So the current unsustainable situation actually promote all of this situation, such as declining the resources and also declining the ecosystem services. We also actually introduce the innovation, creativity, and the unlimited potential for change. So we actually open the world to the industrial revolution. And now we are no longer third industrial revolution. We are now at the IR 4.0. So we actually increasing demands for resources and also ecosystem services. We actually need more, yeah, to actually go for this innovation, yeah, creativity, and also we want to achieve this industrial revolution. So we actually need to use all of the natural resources. So this is actually where the problems come in related to sustainability. So the first thing is about depletion of finite resources, because our topic is about materials. So the materials actually we need to understand where the source come from. Yeah. So what happened next, and then how we want to preserve the use of these resources or the materials. So the problem with sustainability is the depletions of the finite resources, yeah, such as the fuels, the soil, minerals, yeah, or even the species. And we sometimes also overuse of the renewable resources, such as the forest. We also have the fish and also wildlife, fertility, public funds, and also in terms of the pollution, we actually creating more pollutions from all the process that we actually develop, such as it can be from pollution, water pollution, or even soil pollutions. Yeah, so and also the inequity, yeah, in terms of the economic, political, social, and also the gender. Yeah, so because the sustainability is not just for the environment, but also in terms of the economics. Yeah, and there are other factors that we're going to look into after this, and also in terms of the species loss. Yeah, so when there is no suitable ecosystem for some species, then they're actually not able to survive in that kind of condition, and they actually have to move to another place, or they're not able to survive and they will actually lost, okay, in the battle. So this is where we have this endangered species and also spaces. And also in terms of the solutions, okay, there are many other methods actually that we're trying to make sure that we maintain the sustainability. One of it is through the cyclic material use by using natural cycles, three R's, which is reduce, reuse, and also recycle. Later we'll look one by one, yeah, what is the meaning by reduce, reuse, and also recycle. And in terms of the safe, reliable energy, we need to actually conserve, yeah, the sources of energy, renewable energy, substitution. If we're able to find another options, then this is actually the time. Yeah, for example, some of other issues such as plastic, yeah, we can also opt for the substitutions of the bioplastics, yeah, interim measures. Yeah, so what we can actually do to reduce the usage of the what we call fossil fuels. Yeah? So this is actually the safe, reliable energy. and the life-based interests, such as the health, creativity, communication, coordination, appreciation, learning, intellectual and spiritual development. Yeah. So if you would like to make sure that we conserve the environment, we preserve the natural resources, then we need to actually have the healthy lifestyle, yeah, able to actually create the self-awareness among our teenagers, among our young generations, through the learning process, yeah, so that they're able to appreciate, yeah, how it's actually very important for us to preserve the environment, to protect our environment, and also to use the natural sources in actually very good manner. Yeah, so for example, in Japan, yeah, they actually educate the children at the beginning of the nursery, yeah, so that they will actually learn in terms of how very important for us to appreciate the environment, yeah, conserve our environment. And this is actually not only for the what we call this sustainable is actually now becoming what we call world agenda, yeah, in January 2016, yeah, 17, yeah, sustainable development goals, or known as the SDG, has been actually adopted by world leaders, yeah, in September 2015 as well, through United Nations Summit, where actually we would like to see the implementation of these frameworks, yeah, as the main objective across the social, economic, and also environmental aspects of the development. And this is actually being implemented by the United Nations Development Programme. Yeah, so the lead development agency of the United Nations, where it will guide UNDP policy and funding until 2030. So this is agenda for until the year of 2030. Yeah. So it's also known as the SDG, and we can see here the 17 pillars here: no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, infrastructure, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption, production, climate actions, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions and partnerships for the globals. So I'm not going to actually elaborate each of these 17 pillars, and you can actually Google and get more information of this, what is actually all about. But basically, all our institutions also need to show we actually support this SDG. Yeah? Even at UPM also, we have a very big bunting promoting on this SDG. So even in our research also, we need to highlight, okay, which actually of the 17 pillars we choose actually for the our research. Yeah. So normally for my research, I involve in the climate exchange, life below water, life on land, and also clean water and sanitation. Yeah. Basically, each of the countries members of this United Nations, we actually we have what we call as the matrix number. Yeah, whether the country is actually achieve or not, because you have to actually get the points. Yeah, if you achieve this, then you get points. Yeah, so Malaysia and also other countries, we actually at the ranking. Yeah, according to this SDG, whether this country actually achieve or not. Yeah, in terms of the sustainable development goals. Yeah. So Malaysia is at rank 63, if I'm not mistaken, around the globe. And there are actually the 17 pillars. You need to get the points for each of it. So we have actually need to look into what are the points that we need to emphasize for the next sustainability development goals to be achieved by 2030. Yeah, so later on you can look into this in detail. But I would like to share some of the points here because there are key points for this SDG, which is actually the economy, the environment, and also the society. Because we actually going to discuss more about the sustainability of the environment. So what are the environment factors there? It covers this biodiversity, the materials, the energy, and also the biophysical interactions. So one of these important factors and the environment is actually the materials itself. So the elements of the sustainability that we are going to tackle in this topic is about the materials, yeah. But also there is some other elements such as economy, which is related to money and capital, the employment, yeah. So the technological growth, investment, and also market forces. So it's related to each other, yeah. And also in terms of the society, which is the human diversity, the cultural, our linguistics, our ethnic, the equity, yeah, the quality of life, the institutional structures and organization, and also political structures. So this actually related to each other for a healthy community model. So if we would like to have a healthy community model, we need to integrate, yeah, all of these three pillars, yeah, important factors here, the society, the economy, and also the environment for a healthy community. So when we talk about the environment here, we actually look at the what we call the flow here, which is actually one-way flow of materials and energy, because we as the society, we as the consumer, yeah, and normally this is actually what happened, yeah. We need to use energy, for example, to produce the heat. We also need to utilize the materials in terms of the non-renewable, or it can be also renewables and other materials for the high throughput, for industry purpose, and then at the same time, we also produce the waste and toxin. Yeah, this is actually one-way flow of materials and energy, either in form of the energy or either in the forms of the materials. So this is normally what is actually the process or the flow normally happen here. So in the sustainable civilization, we actually need to introduce, yeah, the cyclical flows, yeah. The same flow, but then we need to actually have these toxic controls. We also need to introduce low volume of the non-toxic waste materials produced from the systems. And also we need actually to look into the renewable source, also the materials. For also in terms of the conserver society, we need to look for the low quality heat energy, low throughput, low volume of the non-toxic waste materials, and we need to actually reuse the energy efficiency and waste minimization and toxic controls. So we need to actually appropriate energy usage here. So we have, this is what they are looking for, the sustainable civilization, okay? In terms of the materials consumptions and also energy consumptions. Yeah? And one of the important, this is one of the examples, yeah, for the economic and sustainable use of resources, because when we talk about the materials, it's also related to the resources, where the materials come from, yeah. And we look at the life cycle of a product over time. Yeah? For example, this is ore extraction. Yeah, the ore extraction is actually ore itself is a deposit in earth crust. Yeah, it can be either one or more valuable minerals containing metals, which is crucial to industry and also trade, such as copper, gold, iron, steel, nickel, cobalt, platinum, yeah, to name few of it. Yeah, so you can see here, this is actually the life cycle of the product over time. Yeah, so because of the societal demands for minerals and metals, we start to explore, yeah, under the earth crust, exploration, and then we extract through the mining process, yeah, and then the concentration, and then follow with the smelting and refining, yeah, because it's in the solids form. So for the fabrication, we need to melt down, okay, at the high temperature. And for the fabrication, for design and manufacture, before the use, okay, meet the users, and also for the consumption. And before then, it's actually reached the disposal, return to environment. So for this part is actually where we actually introduce the sustainable use of resources. So instead of disposal back to the environment, we opt to remanufacture or recycling or reuse. Okay, so that means if we actually able to get the products, okay, then we can reuse the same product, yeah, or you can actually recycle. That means follow again the same process, yeah, smelting and then fabricate, and then you can actually manufacture, and you can use the same materials but for another form, or you can recycle into the same products, yeah. The same thing for the remanufacture. So this is actually the before the final disposal return to environment, which is actually the disposal in terms of the landfill normally. Yeah. So each stage is managed and planned. Yeah. So that we can have the economic and also the sustainable use of resources. Yeah. So otherwise, we actually going to use this sources, which is actually going to be depletions, yeah, in the future. So this is actually one of the way why we need to have sustainable use of the resources, yeah. And the environmental impact statement deal with the gross impacts of developments on the environment, yeah. So we as the engineer, we as the scientists, yeah, we need to consider, yeah, at the design stage of every product, irrespective of size, how the choice of the materials, the process, service, what is actually the impact, okay, of the choice of these materials on the environment over the life cycle of the products. Yeah. So when we choose of this product, okay, we need to look what happened to this product throughout their life cycle. Yeah. So then we can actually manage the resources, yeah, in the sustainable way. So this is actually few of example in our daily life products, yeah, which is actually based on the materials, yeah, but such as the plastics, yeah, CDs, whatsoever, all of this. And now we actually need to rely our life on the electronics items, yeah, computers, personal computer, handphones, yeah, which actually inside the materials, you actually figure out that many of the metals inside of these electronics items, yeah. So the guidelines, okay, for the sustainable activity, yeah, when actually we need to choose materials that which actually in continuous cycles, we need to opt for the materials in continuously reliable sources of energy, and also encourage desirable human traits for the equity, creativity, and also the communication. So we actually need to develop this equity as well. And then the activities that are not sustainable when they require continual inputs of non-renewable resources and also use renewable resources faster than their rate of renewal. Yeah. So you actually extraction more faster than the rate of replenish or renewal of these sources. Okay, and then cause cumulative degradation of the environment and require resources in quantities that could never be available for people everywhere. Yeah. So this is related to equity as well. Yeah. And lead to the extinction of other life forms. Yeah. So if we actually creating this, yeah, it is actually the activities that are not sustainable. So then we actually need to come up with these solutions, which is actually eventually eliminate our contributions to the systematic accumulation of materials taken from the earth crust. So instead of inefficient use, we need to go for the efficient use. And then for the scarce metals, yeah, some of the scarce materials or the metals such as the platinum, yeah, normally we use this all kind of the metals for catalytic purpose, also such as indium, manganese, yeah. Normally they are mostly used in the electronics items, aerospace, and also automotive industry. Yeah, and we actually need to opt for the abundance metals, or also known as the base metals, yeah, which is actually relatively inexpensive and produced at scale. Yeah, for example, iron, copper, aluminium, yeah, nickel, zinc, cobalt, to name few of it, and also fossil fuels to renewables source of energy. If I would like to just also share that for our next class, we're going to be related to the green energy, or actually renewable energy. Yeah. So what are the options we have? Yeah. Instead of using these fossil fuels, such as oil, petroleums, and also gas. And also to reduce and eventually eliminate our contribution to the systematic accumulation of substances produced by society. Yeah, there are so many substances that we use. Yeah, halogenated aldehydes, ketones, yeah, to name few of it, alcohols. So we need to actually go for the efficient use. Yeah, so this is where also we need to make sure that persistent and natural into abundant and break down easily. Yeah. So these materials, for example, the substances, if it's actually organic, it will return back to the organic form, such as the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and also the sulfur, and easily break down in the form of the organic normally. And also dissipative use through the tight technical cycles. Yeah. So meaning that we are looking for the another options, okay, for the substances, yeah, produced by the society. And even in terms of the management, yeah, of the waste produced from the substances, we have also schedule waste landfill, yeah, schedule waste facility to actually recovery some of the substances before final disposal into the landfill. And then we also need to actually reduce and eventually eliminate our contributions to the ongoing physical degradation of nature. So by having efficient use of resources and land, yeah, natural resources, as we have discussed in our previous class, yeah, water pollution related to the pollutants actually emerging these natural resources, water, yeah, and also the land, yeah. So we actually need to preserve the environment, yeah, from the pollutions, and the resource from poorly managed ecosystem to resources from well-managed ecosystems. And then reduce, eventually eliminate our contributions to conditions that systematically undermine people's ability to meet their own needs. Yeah? If we have this, we need to go for the safe and healthy productions and use, and respect for human rights and sufficient resources for livelihood. Yeah? So we actually need to respect the other people's needs, yeah, not just being greedy, and we actually looking for the sources for our own consumptions, for our wealth, yeah, without thinking of what is the actually impact on the next generation and also on the environment. So for the overview, the sustainability is defined by the EPA as the meeting the needs, yeah, of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. Yeah? This is what also I explained earlier, what is the meaning of sustainability. And one of the example here is actually the plastic industry. Yeah? So I would like to share this as the materials and how actually this plastic, because it's actually becoming issues nowadays, a lot of criticisms, yeah, due to the large amount of products that end up in the landfills or on the side of the roads as litter. Yeah, basically littering happens because of our habits. Yeah, you can see in the river sometimes. Yeah, so many plastics actually being thrown into the river, yeah, into the ponds, yeah, because of the habits of the people, yeah, who use the products. It's actually not the plastic industry doing the littering, but the people who use the products. So again, it's actually the human as the end users. Yeah. So plastic actually, for example, one of the materials has been labeled as bad for the environment. Yeah. And now recently with the issues of the microplastics, yeah, related to cancers, yeah, these microplastics can be actually observed to be in the surface water for drinking water, yeah, and has been caused for the cancers, yeah. Plastics also kills the sea turtles, yeah. So this is also example of what happened here to the creatures in the sea, yeah. So this is actually some of the what we call perceptions could be, yeah. So the plastic industry did not throw those bags into the oceans or trees, but people did, yeah. So some of these pollutions, these issues, yeah, related to the behavior of the human beings, yeah. So if those bags had been recycled, none of this picture would have been possible. So if we actually reuse, recycle, then we will not able to see this happen, yeah, to our nature, to our environment, yeah. So many of the same properties that make plastics, yeah, such available resources, also make it a target for environmental groups, yeah. So basically, if you look at this plastic itself, it is durable, chemically resistant, and it's actually not degrade easily. Plastic is actually lightweight. Yeah. Normally, if you blow out, it actually can stuck in the tree. Yeah. So some of it floats, okay, and polluting the waterways. But again, it's not the plastic that is the problem. Yeah, and pollute the environment, but it's the problem with our society. Yeah, so if they have no self-awareness, they actually pollute the environment. Yeah, so now they're actually talking about which one is better, yeah, paper bag or plastic bag, yeah, for sustainable environment. So if you go for the life cycle of this product, you can see there are actually a lot of differences, yeah, make you think and trigger, yeah. So for example, I'm not going to say paper bag is better or plastic bag is better. You can think based on the facts here, yeah. So plastic bag, for example, consume only 80% of the energy required. Yeah, most energy productions plants burn fossil fuels to produce their energy. If you think on the other way around, for paper bag, normally you need to use fibers. Yeah, which is actually come from the plants. Yeah, plastic bags use 3% of the fresh water. Okay, for the productions of the plastic bags. Yeah, and then produce 80% less waste than paper bags. That means it takes 5 times the number of garbage trucks to carry the same number of paper bags to the dump as one truck of plastic bags. And plastic bags also utilize 91% less energy to recycle 1 pound of plastic bag when compared to 1 pound of paper. So if we look into this life cycle analysis, actually you will see a lot of differences, yeah? Because normally life cycle analysis is actually involved making detailed measurements during the manufacturing of the products. For example, from the mining of the raw materials used in its productions, in its distribution, in its use, possible reuse or recycling, and its eventual disposal. Normally, you are going to look at the from resource until to the final disposal. So through this life cycle analysis, or we also call it as the LCA, and normally you can use this Sigma Pro software, yeah, to do this life cycle analysis, and it's very commonly known in the manufacturing, yeah. for the productions of the any of the products, normally you need to go for this life cycle analysis, yeah, because you can see what is actually happen when you utilize these materials for the products and the impact on the environment, what happened, yeah, throughout the life cycle of these materials. Such as, okay, paper bags, yeah, you made it from tree, okay, which is actually renewable resources. And plastic bag, normally you made it from the polyethylene, which is actually from petroleum, a non-renewable resources. Pro and cons there, yeah. So life cycle analysis enables manufacturer to quantify how much energy, how much raw materials used, and how much solid waste or liquid waste or gaseous waste is generated at each stage of the product's life. Yeah. So throughout the life cycle, how much, yeah, for example, for of the water that you need to use, yeah, to produce the same basis, for example, 1,000 kilogram of the paper bags, and also for the plastic bags, yeah, and then how much of the waste generated later on. So if you look at the comparison here, this is the plastic bag life cycle stages, and this is for the paper bag, yeah. So for the normally for the LCA, you need to actually identify the boundaries of the process, yeah. So normally from this one is actually from the beginning, okay, until to the final disposal. So through this life cycle stages, you can see the extraction, processing of the raw materials, manufacturing, packaging, transportation, yeah, useful life maintenance products, and also you can either recycle it, yeah, and before the final disposal. And for the paper bag, there will be timber harvesting, pulping, paper making, yeah, bag making, transportation, recycling as well, and also disposal. Yeah. So normally throughout this process, okay, this cycle, you need to calculate, yeah, how much of the, for example, for the basis 1,000 kilogram, yeah, of the paper produced, yeah, or plastic bag produced, and how much of water will be used, how much of the timber, yeah. So this actually throughout this life cycle stages. I'm not going to explain more about the LCA. Actually, there is a specific or special class, yeah, for the LCA on how you can do the analysis and how you can get the data out of it, yeah. So I just give some ideas so that you know and understand that before the utilizing or the use of the materials, at least you get some ideas, yeah. You need to look into the other perspective of these materials before you can use as the products, yeah. How is that impact on the environment, yeah, before you can actually utilize this material for the, so you need to look at the life cycle of that products, yeah. So there are 4 basic points for the sustainability platform, which is actually the recycling, the biodegradable polymers, reduction of the amount of material used in product, and design for the recyclability. Yes, so this is example, picnic tables, yeah, made from the recycled materials, yeah. So this is where we have the 3 R's, yeah, reduce, yeah, recycle, and also reuse. So this is example of the recycling normally for the materials here. This is actually very common, yeah, for the plastics. If you look at the plastics mineral bottles, yeah, you can see these symbols, yeah. This is actually the PETE, yeah, HDPE, the materials, there are 7 of it. This is actually for the primary recycling symbols, yeah. The most commonly recycled materials are PETE, polyesters, polyethylene, and polypropylene. Yeah, polyester is commonly recycled into carpeting, and also polyethylene bags, yeah, are recycled into more bags, yeah. And many times polypropylene and polyethylene recycled materials are mixed and molded into items like flower pots or plastic lumbers. So they're actually becoming mixed materials. And the recycling, first actually for the 3R, we need to reduce, yeah, the amount of the plastics produced, and then recycle, okay. So how efficient we make the design, there was there will still be material that needs to be recycled and reused. Yeah. So one of our challenges in the industry will probably be to identify areas where this material can be utilized. Yeah. So this is actually example why plastics is also becoming what we call recyclable, can also reuse, yeah, for different components. And most of the industry looking for the innovative ways, yeah, to utilize these ways so that it can be efficient and can save money and can generate income at the same time, yeah. So because plastic is very interesting, because I think in Malaysia and in Indonesia as well, we use plastic a lot, yeah, for packaging, yeah. So even we go to any restaurants, yeah, tapao or bring back the foods back home, you will reuse many of the plastics, yeah. Even in our country also, we actually ban the plastic straws, yeah, for the consumption. So normally we have to use the what you call paper straws, yeah, for the our personal consumptions at the restaurants. So this is actually one of the way. And now we are looking for the biodegradable plastics, yeah, because of the cost of the oil rising, yeah, high demand for fossil fuels, yeah. So biopolymers are rising to the forefront of the industry, and this is actually the materials that normally develop from the starch, yeah. So they are looking for the other alternative such as corn, potatoes, yeah, polylactic acid, yeah, normally produced for corn starch, actually has many properties similar to that polyester phthalate. Yeah, it is more difficult to process, but then easily degraded, yeah, by higher temperature. But the material shows the potential, and this material, for example, normally used as the biodegradable plastic because it's easy to break down, yeah, into CO2, water, and also biological components. Yeah. And then compostable means that the material will break down and into smaller, less dangerous constituents in a composting facility. So this is actually the options now. They are looking for the biodegradable plastics, yeah, which is actually able to be degraded by the microbes, such as the starch. Yeah, it can actually break down, yeah, this starch into the smaller or simpler materials. Yeah. Then the material reductions for the 3 R's, yeah, we actually need to reduce the amount of plastic materials that goes into the products serve several purposes. So it also will actually reduce the cost, and then be less material after use for recycling or disposal. And then for the improvement in material properties, process and design make the ability to reduce material content possible. So again, it's actually in terms of the selections of the materials, yeah, also is very important at this stage. Yeah. For the sustainable future, okay, most of the industry also looking for this carbon footprint, yeah, reducing carbon footprint. In terms of, this is one of the example, if you Google Synergy, yeah, this is actually one of the company actually involved for the producing technology, yeah, to reduce carbon footprint, yeah, and also in terms of the energy, green energy consumption, yeah. So basically, there are different options, yeah, for the sustainable future. If you can look here, this is the example, yeah. Some of these material we choose because of it reduce the carbon footprints, yeah. For example, in terms of the energy efficient light bulbs, yeah, building management system, green buildings, yeah, we are talking about the green buildings nowadays, yeah. So this is actually to reduce the carbon footprint, yeah. And from a UPM experience, okay, we have one institute research, which is what we call as the Institute of Tropical Forestry and Forest Products, or known as the INTROP, yeah. So they actually have 4 main research related to the bioresource management, pulp and paper, pollution control, biopolymer and derivative, and also the biocomposite technology and design. Yeah, so basically their research is mainly to produce high performance biocomposites, yeah, from plant-based fibers, yeah, and also for the biocomposites, yeah, by using biofibers, yeah, and they're actually also looking for the natural fibers such as non-forest and timberous resources. And this is also the part where they're actually looking for the economical approach of the biopulping and also bio-bleaching process, particularly for non-woody materials and agrofibers. And this research focusing on the biodegradable plastics, yeah, from the phytomass for the bioadhesive, biocoating, cellulose, and also modifications. This is the example of the biocomposite materials. For example, this is the Putra frame. The photo frame here is actually made from the fibers of the woods here, but this is actually from the disposable, not the new or fresh fibers, but actually the one that pruning from the pruning here, they're no longer to be used, then they actually use it for the photo frame here. And also for the biocomposite helmet, yeah. And the one of the plants that we actually look into for the biocomposite materials is kenaf, yeah. So kenaf is actually known as one of the highest CO2 absorption rates, yeah. Because we actually would like to explain here that normally when we have less plants, yeah, what happens is that CO2 increase, and this actually contribute to the global warming. So what we trying to do now is actually when we have planting all of this kenaf, it's actually one of the plants with the highest CO2 absorption rates, yeah, among other plants, which is 3 to 9 times higher than average. And kenaf is actually one of the fast growing, yeah, crops, and it can actually cultivate twice a year, and each time we can actually get about 15 to 20 tons, yeah, per day weight, per day dry weight per hectare, yeah. And in terms of the photosynthesis, the plant actually has the highest rate, which is 23.4 milligram CO2 per decimeter square per hour, compared to the conventional tree, which is about 8.7 milligram CO2 per decimeter square per hour. So kenaf plants is actually very suitable, yeah, for this CO2 absorption rates, yeah. And then also, this is actually where we actually also highlight in terms of the alternative plants, which is corn. And corn also able to produce the polylactic acid, yeah, for the reinforced bioplastics used in electronics equipment. And this polylactic acid is actually 1.7 times greater in terms of the rigidity and also thermal deformation temperature. So that's why it's suitable to be used for electronics equipment. Yeah, similar to kenaf, the fiber added, okay, into the reinforced bioplastic is actually can be used for the electronic equipment.
Sorry,
So I
HASFALINA, as time
yes.
is 2 minutes left.
Oh yeah, this is the last one. No worries. so this is the last slide as I promised. Okay. So according to Justin Thomas Miller, okay, small changes can make a big difference. So let's say, for example, in a day we can make 1% changes. So in a year we can actually make about 37% of the differences. Yeah. So it's better for us to change our attitude. Yeah. For a sustainable environment. By use the 3R, reduce, reuse, and also recycle of the material we use daily, yeah, and we can make this big difference actually. So terima kasih and thank you. So I managed to. It's 11 hours. Time allocated today. All right. Thank you for me.
Thank you very much for the interesting topic developed with Professor Pascasarjana. Okay, now in the next session, we have the discussion and then question answer. The first question I read from the chat room Zoom from Miss Pristia listening room. I just read this. I will read this, Professor Lina. I agree with you that plastic is a worldwide environment problem. Many studies try to seek solution in overcoming this. And then I just want to share in Indonesia, we have so many campaigns influence people to move from single-use plastic into shopping bags that can be used many times. Then some shops such as Starbucks replace the plastic bag into paper bag or biodegradable plastic. Nevertheless, I don't think that is enough because the use of non-degradable plastic bag is still high. How you update the current condition in Malaysia and how the government in Malaysia respond to this within this legislation, regulation, and a policy? Also, in the Samfron Island, Indonesia, we frequently suffer a coastal pollution from plastic packaging from other countries such as Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and others. Is there any regulation in Malaysia regarding to the discharge of plastic into the coastal area? Maybe it's one question from this. Professor Lima, you can answer.
Okay, thank you so very much. Very good questions. So we're actually talking about plastic because that is most what you call everyday use, daily use. Yeah, plastic as a packaging. Yeah. Where I noticed that in Indonesia, when I first visited Indonesia last time, you actually use what you call not plastic, but then you use in terms of the what you call box, yeah, paper box, yeah. So which is actually in Malaysia normally we use polystyrene, plastics, yeah, to pack the foods, yeah. So that is actually very regular, yeah, to see this consumption of the plastics in Asian region, yeah. So we actually tend to use plastic a lot because of the simplicity of it, yeah. In Malaysia, as I mentioned just now, we have the regulations actually where the government actually banned the use of this plastic straw at the restaurants. So I'm not sure whether in Indonesia you have this sort of the regulations or not, but in Malaysia we have these regulations. But at the beginning, yeah, the consumers mostly not really agree with this because yeah, we used to have the plastic straws at the restaurants for drinking. Yeah, normally we use the plastic straw, but it has been banned by the government, and they actually opt for the what you call the plastics no longer available, but sometimes they also no longer use the straw, but then we use the straw made from so they're looking for the alternative way, yeah. So they actually make the straw, but then from the permanent materials, which is like what you call like skills, yeah. So they use it. So you have to bring your own straw rather than you get it plastic straw from the restaurant. So each of us need to have our own straw. So whenever you go to the restaurants, you have to have your own straws. So it is actually one of the regulations by the government. So even as the consumers not really agree with this, but we have to comply with these rules and regulations by the government. So, and also nowadays, we actually need to buy the plastic bags whenever you go to the supermarkets. If you are not going to bring your own plastic bags, then you need to pay for 20 cents, yeah, for the plastic bags. So this is actually one of the way to actually make sure that the consumers need to bring your own bags whenever you go to buy your groceries. But this is only applicable at the hypermarkets. So whenever you go to the small shops, you can see that people still use plastic bags actually. But at the hypermarket, this is a compulsory, yeah. So you need to purchase, you need to buy, yeah, for the price of the plastic bag, or else you simply not say, oh, I don't have. So you just want it because it's free, yeah. But when you actually need to buy the paper plastic bags instead, then you are going to think twice, yeah. So better I bring my own bag rather than I have to pay for the plastic bag at the grocery shop. So normally this is also one of the way to educate, because in UK this is nothing new, yeah. So when I actually long time ago, yeah, actually in 20 years back, yeah, when I was at Newcastle upon Tyne, yeah, so we already know about this. So we actually always bring our bag, yeah, whenever we go to buy groceries. So we know that we don't have to spend money to buy plastic bags. So they already know about this. But in Malaysia, we just introduced this. So yes, it is not something easy for us because our normal way, this is actually already culture, but then now you want to change, yeah. So the changes is actually need enforcement by the government. This is actually very important because the government, the involvement of the government actually able to force the community to actually change their lifestyle, yeah. So this is one of the way. And then even the many of the industries also looking forward for the biodegradable plastics, yeah, as their options. So they are actually, that's why they can sell this plastic bag at the price of 20 cents, yeah, because of the process also. You need to find the materials that is degradable, which is actually at still higher cost, but you sell it back to the consumers. Whenever they want to use it, okay, you need to purchase this plastic bag, yeah, but it is biodegradable plastic now, such as Tesco, yeah, some of these hypermarket, they actually use biodegradable plastics, yeah, for the plastic bags. And I think this is also very important, yeah. At this moment, there is actually no regulation specifically for those who actually throw plastics in the riverways, yeah, will be charged. There is no yet regulation in Malaysia. If we, but in Singapore, we know that, yeah, if you actually what you call chewing gum, yeah, is also becoming you will get penalty, yeah, if you actually throw away the chewing gum at a public area, so not in the proper disposal place. So this is actually one of the involvement of the government, yeah. So at right now I can see that there is no enforcement yet by the government, any penalty, because this is quite difficult for us to assess, yeah, who's actually thrown the plastic in the riverway. So we're not able to know who is actually responsible for this. So until now, one of the recent activity that we normally do during weekend, for example, is to have a community project clean up our river. And most of the plastic you can find, yeah, in the riverways in Malaysia. Normally you can see this is actually one of the attitude, yeah, related to our community. So we have this activity. One of the way is actually by cleaning up our rivers. So we have promotion by the government, such as sayangilah sungai anda, which is love your own river. So this is actually to educate our community as well, so that we actually not going to pollute our river with this all the plastics, yeah, all the other waste, yeah, that you can see. So basically, government spend a lot, yeah, to actually remove all the plastics trapped in our waterways, yeah, before we can utilize the water for our own consumption later on. And so this is actually one of the environmental problems, and we're not able to actually what you call penalize, because we don't know who's actually responsible for this activity. So this is still at the stage of our self-awareness actually. So this is why I said make small changes, because this is actually come from the consumers, yeah, from users. So I think this is also maybe, yeah, maybe in Indonesia, I'm not sure how is actually the regulations and the rules, yeah, related to the plastics utilization. Maybe I think it's quite similar, because I'm not sure whether you also penalize the consumer. You have to pay for the plastic bag if you need it. So in Malaysia, yes, you have to pay 20 cents, yeah, for a plastic bag. So I think I already have.
Okay, maybe the answer from the Miss Priscilla, if you have the feedback. Maybe we can move the next question. Maybe it's all audience have the question, because your click raise hand button or the directly write in the chat room. So, okay. Oh, actually, we have the one question, Professor Lina, is about the fishing gear. The from question from Miss Vanessa Astari. She's mentioned that in the fishing gear activity is the content material use the plastic material. It is possible with the marine life. Meanwhile, the need of marine fish is consumption still high, especially Indonesia. And then what do you think, how can we avoid the negative side of fishing activity, which they use the plastic material that could harm the life below water and human health? Yeah, you got it, Professor.
Yeah, very challenging actually. This the question is very good, because this is actually what we are doing now. Microplastic is actually one of the what we call very difficult for us to actually reduce, yeah, because the source is actually come from our consumption. So when it's actually entering our oceans, our riverways, then this is where the process of degradation happen in the rivers, in the water, and this is actually where it's going to pollute in terms of the marine fish, yeah, or even in the aquatic plants, yeah, they're actually having all these negative side effects, yeah, of this our microplastics. So this is actually what we are doing now in terms of the, for example, for drinking water consumptions as well. Actually, we actually need to look into the examples is the bisphenol A. Yeah, this is also what we call this emergent, yeah, bioplastics, which is actually you can find in the drinking water. So this is where we actually need to go for the good quality of the drinking water by having additional treatments, not just that means at the home consumption. Before we can consume the water for our own personal drinking water, you need to have another treatment. That's why nowadays you can see many what you call apparatus, yeah, they're actually selling this equipment. They claim they're able to reduce all of these elements in the drinking water, yeah. So this is actually still not at that stage. We're able to reduce the actually bioplastic, yeah. I named few of it, yeah. This is can be bisphenol A, bisphenol B, yeah. There are many other types of the actually this is microplastic components, yeah, that we can actually figure out in the drinking water. So in the fisheries, actually fishing activities, this is actually where we actually don't know yet, yeah, how we can able to help in terms of the because the fish actually use this water, yeah, for their daily life, yeah. So they're actually in contact with this water every day, every time, yeah. So that's why these materials actually can be found in also the marines, yeah. The fishing activities will have a negative side actually because of these plastics, yeah. What you call polluted our oceans or even our aquatic place, yeah, where actually we have the aquatic activities, yeah, aquaculture activities. So basically, to avoid this, normally you need to have the water treatment when this is actually water for this aquaculture activities. So that's why, but we are not at the level to reduce until the microplastics yet, yeah. So we just actually able to reduce the pollutants in terms of the suspended solids, yeah, only of these few items, or the water quality we discussed earlier, yeah, only few of these parameters that we able to remove or reduce, yeah, from the water before we can use it for our aquaculture activity, for example. But again, if it's for the open system, yeah, we're still not able to actually tackle this problem yet, yeah. So that's why we have actually reduce at the source, yeah. So we need to actually reduce at the source before this plastic or any of these pollutants entering our water bodies. So this is actually one of the way why we are need to actually work together, yeah, with the government, yeah, with the policies, regulations, and we as the consumers, at the end users, need to actually cooperate, yeah, because otherwise it will be not functioning, right? So there is also questions in Indonesian language, yeah.
Yes, maybe I will translate it after this one.
Yeah, maybe I can answer in bahasa.
Oh,
So we
okay.
so not much difference, yeah.
Yes. Actually, we have the feedback from the one previous question that about the regulation. In Malaysia, has Malaysia implement the central of waste management and spirited food waste, Professor Lina, especially from plastic, is like in the UK and the South Korea. And then what this is already applied in all over region in the Malaysia with the implemented central waste management.
Okay, so actually waste management is another interesting topic actually we can discuss. Right now, because if you actually need to segregate, yeah, if it's scheduled waste or hazardous waste, then we have specific facility, yeah, in charge for this type of the waste, yeah, which is actually, we name it, two of the companies actually involved for Peninsula Malaysia, Quality Alam, and Klinikan in the Sarawak, which is actually another state. So basically, there is receive if it's hazardous or scheduled waste, then you need to actually bring all this waste into this facility, because they have specific recovery system. They also actually use incinerators, yeah. So with the technology available to actually treat this waste with the minimal impact on the environment before final discharge to the landfill. Even the leachate also produced from the landfill also need to be treated, yeah, prior the disposal and so forth. So basically we have a specific treatment or facility for the scheduled waste or hazardous waste, and for the domestic waste, including the food waste, normally we have one of the, what we call, the final disposal, normally we use landfill. Yeah, so at one of the place I have actually visited, normally they should have like segregation facility, but normally you have all the waste come together, lump everything, either is organic or non-organic or plastics. Even we have the machines for segregation, but it's still not able to separate all of these materials. So they actually need to use manpower to actually manually segregate this. If you like to go for the plastics, okay, if it's in a bottle plastic, so you need to pick up and bring this waste, yeah, and then you can actually just sort, this one is organic. So you can imagine that daily they have like 100 tons, yeah, of the waste. So if it's to be done manually, so you're not actually capable to handle all this waste. So basically that's what happened, yeah. So they just dump everything in the landfill without any actually able to segregate some of the waste, yeah. So if you know the location, for example, this is come from the restaurants, yeah. So you know basically it contain most of the organic waste, yeah. So normally they will bring just dump straight away into the landfill. So sometimes they actually can bring into the segregation facility where they actually select, yeah, this plastic bottle can be actually bring to the another. You can sell out, yeah, some of this item. So they pick up some of this, but it has to be done manually. So there is still no what you call technology that able to actually segregate the organic, the plastics, and non-organic. So basically, they still use human observation actually to segregate at this segregation facility for this purpose. So basically, that's also the reason why we have difficulty to actually what we call uh, go for the what you call selections of the organic materials at the landfill. Yeah. So normally for the landfill after disposal, they also opt for the biogas, yeah, production such as methane. And nowadays we have if I'm not mistaken, three, yeah, the landfill which is actually able to produce methane for the energy consumption. So we opt for this biomethane production for electricity, yeah, from the landfill, because we know that organic landfill actually able to produce gas. So we actually utilize the biogas produced for the electricity consumption. So this is actually what we are going to discuss further in our next class actually, yeah, green energy. For the, you mentioned about the regulations, yeah. So in Malaysia, yes, we have regulations. If it's talking about the hazardous waste, yes, it is under Environmental Quality Act in Malaysia, and any of the industry will not comply with this what you call disposal of the waste, accordingly there will be penalty for them. So that's why most of the industry need to make sure come up with this detailed EIA, environmental impact assessment, to be submitted to the Department of Environment before they actually start their industry. Yeah, so they need to show how they're actually going to treat their waste generated from this industry. If it's hazardous waste, then it need to be treated or need to be landfill at the specific facility. So this is actually one of the way, and even now we also actually I also with my group we actually receive one of the consultation work whereby this one company actually would like to open up a new hazardous waste facility. Yeah, so this is actually where we actually need to monitor in terms of the viability of the technology that they are going to introduce at their facility. So this is going to be another option. Instead of what I mentioned just now, we have only two facility for the hazardous waste treatment. Now we are going to have maybe in the future 4 more, yeah, facilities, yeah, to cover up of this hazardous waste treatment plants. Yeah. So this is actually because now as we know COVID-19, there is a lot of clinical waste, yeah, and clinical waste we not simply able to dispose in the landfill, yeah, so it need to be incinerated or either introduce microwave before incinerated, then before then final disposal at the landfill. So there are specific treatment, yeah, actually for this particular waste, yeah, before we can able to dispose, yeah. So this is actually where through the regulations as well, yeah. In Malaysia, yes, we have this regulations under Environmental Quality Act, yeah, 1974, and be revised, yeah, every time, specific for types of the waste, yeah. So yeah, so any of this, then you can go for the municipal landfill, yeah, for the disposal of the domestic waste, yeah. But other than that, yeah, you need to send your waste into the registered, yeah, actually what we call hazardous waste or facilities. So yeah, maybe in the future we will have more actually of this hazardous waste facility, yeah, for this purpose.
Okay, Professor Felina, is the head one question with Indonesian language. Maybe the mean of the question is that if we know that in Indonesia, in the bulk to building, we have the some material that directly throw in the side of the building. It's like the concentrate, ceramic, gypsum, leaven, glass, and how do you think in Malaysia is hard the regulation to build about the building? Maybe like that.
Yeah, this is actually similar to what I mentioned just now because normally gypsums, yeah, this is actually the materials where normally we consider as the schedule waste. Under schedule waste, there will be like label, yeah, SW specific for gypsum, for example, or ceramics, yeah. So the when you label that according to the schedule waste characteristics, then the way of disposal, you know how is it to be disposed. Yeah, if you label as W1, for example, yeah, so there will be specific treatment. Either it need to be cemented, or it can be in the drum, or you need to be incinerated before the final disposal into the landfill. So normally for in Malaysia, the company actually need to label, yeah, this waste according to the schedule waste. We have the table actually, and then the company actually need to bear the cost, yeah, for this disposal to this treatment facility. So you need actually to label so that when it reach the facility for the treatment, then they will actually dispose according to the characteristics of this waste, yeah. So normally for this waste, we have this, what that's why we call it as the schedule waste, SW, which is also considered the computer. So some of the parts you also can recover the metals, yeah, from the electronics items if it's not able to be used anymore, handphones, yeah. So you still have the materials, which is the metals that still can be reused or recovery. So normally we have also the recovery facility to actually collect, yes, some of these usable items from these materials before you dispose. Yeah, so normally there is also recovery facility, also need to be licensed. Yeah, so then you can actually recover some of the expensive metals in the electronics items or in the materials that you actually going to dispose. So we can still recover some of these metals, yeah, before the final disposals. So it's actually, yes, under Environmental Quality Acts, and the ministry that actually involved is actually the Department of Environment. Yeah, that is actually the department that involved in terms of the rules and regulations, yeah, related to how to manage the waste in Malaysia. So they're also actually going to give the license, yeah, in terms of the technology, there is viability of this technology, suitable or not, yeah. So this is actually the agencies involved, yeah, for the managing waste in Malaysia. So we have the actually private agencies, but then you need to comply with this and get consent from Department of Environment, yeah, for this treatment facility and so forth. So yes, basically, yeah, we have this peraturan, yeah, untuk Malaysia. So we have this.
Oke, maybe mungkin jawabannya Bapak Bayu Rahati, di Malaysia sebenarnya juga ada peraturan terkait bagaimana tentang manajemen juga di bangunan. Jadi memang ada aturan khusus yang mengatur ini untuk dalam pembangunan. Oke, maybe still have the one question, Professor Felina, is okay? Okay, is about the assessment of indicator. Is should the compare in other thing is especially material is compared to material is better for ecological or another. So maybe and the main of the question is all assessment indicator is should be compared with material which the better over ecological or another. Is just for measurement energy on water consumption or still have the other indicator?
Okay, I give example in one of example in the my presentation just now. How we can use life cycle analysis as one of the method actually to look into the impact of these materials on the environment, throughout their life cycles. So actually we can look into the there are many other factors that you can look into. So I just give example in terms of the water consumptions. It could be also the CO2 emissions, or it could be also the eutrophication effect. So there are many other actually indicators that you can choose to look into the impact of the utilization of these materials on the environment. So it's not that actually if you go to this software, CIMA Pro software, actually you can choose, if I'm not mistaken, more than 20 in terms of the impacts on the environments where you can actually highlight if you would like to look into the CO2 or eutrophication effect in terms of the energy consumptions. So there are many factors that you can actually look into. It is not just water consumption or just not energy consumption. So the one that I choose or pick up is just few examples, so that we can relate, but actually it's not just that, of this measurement. It can be more than this actually. So in the life cycle analysis, this is one of the good example. So you can look actually in one life cycle of the products from the extraction. It's involved many process, and each of the process could involve energy, could involve water consumption, could also produce waste. So that's why you need to look into the whole process of the productions of this one material, so that you know what is actually the impact of this product throughout their life cycle actually. Because throughout the process itself, it's produced this, consume a lot of energy, consume a lot of water, and also produce a lot of waste, for example. So what type of waste that will be produced from this process? So then you will know the impact, because of the how much of the waste also produced and how much of the energy consumed. So even energy also, if you look again, it can be from the biogas or it can be from the electricity. Electricity come from coal. It can come from biogas. So this is also another life cycle actually. So that's why normally for the selection of the boundary, it's up to us to choose, whether we would like to look into the what aspect actually. The boundary is up to us, So if I would like to see this is the cycle, from the source until to the end disposal, including recycle, then you will get you can see how much of the consumption of the energy, the waste, produced and so forth, So normally this is one of the method that I think is also very important for us to know, especially for the manufacture any of the materials, So in mechanical engineering, this is one of the subject actually that they need to know about the life cycle analysis. And if we are talking about agriculture, also we are using it now to look into the what we call sustainability, because from the waste, what happened to the waste, and then in terms of you are using tractors, for example, So how much on energy in terms of the petrol you use? How much of the CO2 will be produced in terms of the fuel consumption, So you can actually calculate this based on the life cycle. To produce 1 ton of the rice, how much of this energy you will consume. So you can actually calculate based on the life cycle analysis. So you can see how much of the impact actually of this activity on the environment. So this is one of the actually interesting software for you to explore, SIMA Pro, but then it's very expensive. But actually you can also use Excel, yeah, to go for this life cycle analysis. Is that you need to know in terms of the calculations, yeah. So this is very good actually indicator for us to know, yeah, what is actually happen when we utilize this kind of materials for the productions. So yeah, later on, Aziz, also you are going to use maybe this LCA here for your project,
Yes.
maybe, yeah, later on. So it's
Okay.
yeah, very interesting later on if you like to have the specific class, yeah, for the LCA, yeah, it can
LC.
be,
Okay.
yeah, it can be done, yeah.
Okay, Professor. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. HASFALINA, for the answer the question of this quiz lecture in the second meeting. So unfortunately, its time is like already over, so we have to finish this session. So maybe it's no problem because next week we have the third meeting with the topic of the science and technology for sustainable development of green energy. So we are very waiting for this topic, Professor Felina. In the chat room, the audience said it's very interesting with your presentation. So maybe before we close this session in the second meeting today, I will read briefly sort of the conclusion of this morning about the sustainable material of sustainable development. So basically how we influence the system is barrier to people meeting their basics need worldwide. So the problem of the materials survey is about the depletion of the finished resources and then overuse of renewable energy and the pollution, inequity, and the species loss. The solution of about this is about cyclical material use and then self-renewable energy, life-based interested. So if we talk about the element of sustainability, we have three elements that important: environment, economic, and society, which will be held the element that need to be integrated of the LT. And then sustainable civilization about the cyclical flow of material, approach of energy use. So we need to consider to design state of every product to save the environment, especially. So quite a lot of sustainability, Professor Lena mentioned that use material conscious cycles and then use material require input and then use renewable resources faster than the rate renewable energy. So maybe just a short conclusion for me, Professor Lena. We will meet again in the third meeting with the topic science about technology for sustainable green energy. So for the second meeting, I am president of the committee of postgraduate Universitas Brawijaya. Say thank you very much from Prof. Pascasarjana. Thank you very much, Professor.
You are most
So
welcome.
yes, we will meet again in the third meeting on the detail of this. Maybe one
more week.
Yes. Okay. We'll say thank you, Prof. Hasfalina. And then Bapak Ibu semua, terima kasih atas kehadirannya pada pertemuan kedua pada pagi hari ini. Saya mewakili dari panitia dari program Pascasarjana Universitas Brawijaya mengucapkan banyak terima kasih. I will close this session. I said wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Lina.
Sampai jumpa lagi minggu
depan.
Yes, minggu depan.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Sama-sama.
Thank you,
Professor.
Stay healthy, Professor Lina. Thank you.
Jaga diri ya semua.
Ya, Prof, sehat selalu.
Prof.